Welcome back to the Explainer. So, have you ever actually stopped to think about just how much information is being thrown at you at any given second? And I mean, without a single word even being spoken? It's wild, right? We basically navigate our entire lives by reading these subtle little signs, signals, and hints that tell us what's really going on just beneath the surface. Well, today, we're unpacking a concept that perfectly bridges the gap between what we can physically measure and what remains totally unseen. It's the key to making sense of everything from our own biology all the way up to the global economy. So let's dive right into the power of the indicator. Imagine this for a second. You wake up, you feel unusually warm, your muscles are kind of aching, and your forehead is just undeniably hot. Now, you can't actually see a virus, right? You can't just visually spot some bacterial infection hanging out inside your body. So, what exactly is telling you that you're getting sick? Well, those physical sensations aren't just random occurrences. They're literally your body's built-in alarm system going off. They are pointing directly to a hidden reality. And honestly, this super relatable feeling is the absolute perfect gateway to understanding how we process unseen information every single day. And that brings us right to the star of today's explainer, the indicator. Yes, 4 syllables, indicator. At its most basic fundamental level, an indicator is simply a person or an object that points something out. It acts as this vital bridge between what you can physically measure and what is completely invisible to the naked eye. So think about that fever again. That elevated temperature? That is your indicator. It's the visible, measurable metric pointing straight to the unseen sickness. Basically, it takes this abstract internal event and translates it into cold, hard data that we can actually react to. Now, this word doesn't just hang out all by itself. It's part of an active word family, and getting to know its linguistic relatives really helps us grasp how we use the term in professional settings. First up, we've got the action, to indicate. That's the verb. So if a big drop in consumer spending indicates an economic recession might be coming, it's performing an action. Then we have the concept itself, an indication. That's another noun, representing the actual act of pointing something out. Once you see this family tree, it becomes super clear how an indicator functions as the specific instrument or the metric that's actually doing the pointing. Section 1. Indicators in the wild, from personal to global. Okay, let's dive into this. Because this whole principle of pointing to unseen realities, it applies across vastly different scales of our lives. On a personal, biological level, like we said, a fever points to illness. It's immediate, it's right there. But let's scale that up a bit, to a mechanical level. Think about the fuel gauge on your car's dashboard. You obviously can't see inside the gas tank while you're cruising down the highway, but that gauge is a perfect instrument showing you exactly what's going on. It points to the reality of an empty tank. Now, let's zoom out even further to a massive macroeconomic level. Economists are obsessively watching the unemployment rate. Why? Well, because that rate is a huge statistical measure, a key indicator pointing out the overall health of an entire national economy. So whether it's a hot forehead, a little dial on your dash, or super complex economic data, the underlying mechanism is exactly the same. The indicator is basically just a measurable proxy for a much more complex reality. Section 2. The word detective. Spotting the difference. Go ahead and put on your word detective hats for this next part, because we are investigating a very crucial distinction. There's a distinction to make here that often trips up even seasoned analysts. So the crucial point is, an indicator points to something, but it is absolutely never the thing itself. The map is not the territory, right? The fever is just the messenger pointing to the infection. And wow, is that a profound difference? Think about it in medicine. If you just treat the fever without realizing it's merely an indicator of a deeper infection, you haven't really solved the root problem at all. And the exact same thing goes for business. If a company's stock price drops, sure, that's an indicator of market sentiment, but it is not the actual intrinsic value of the company itself. Understanding this semantic contrast is literally the key to mastering the whole concept. The indicator is the sign. The thing itself is the underlying reality. Confusing the two can lead to some absolutely disastrous decisions. To really lock this concept in, it helps to look at some near words. A good detective is always looking for clues, right? Well, words like sign, symptom, and clue all function super similarly in our language. A stop sign dictates an action on the road. A medical symptom reveals an underlying ailment to your doctor. A fingerprint is a clue indicating exactly who is in a room. So even though they're used in totally different contexts, traffic, medicine, forensics, all of these near words share an identical core function. They are tangible, visible artifacts that point to a larger, hidden truth that we just wouldn't have access to otherwise. So, to wrap up today's explainer, I want you to literally just look around the room for a second. Consider the sheer volume of unseen data you're processing right now through these conceptual bridges. A clock on the wall? It indicates the invisible flow of time. That little battery icon on your screen? It indicates stored electrical energy. The thermometer outside your window points to the kinetic energy of the air around you. We are entirely surrounded by these proxies. So, what does this all mean? Well, the real provocative question we should all be asking ourselves is this: what hidden realities in your business, your health, or your society are currently pointing right at you, just waiting for you to actually notice the indicator? And maybe even more importantly, are you reading those indicators correctly, or are you mistaking the map for the territory? Keep your eyes open to the signals around you, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.